They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Loan you that college promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Tonight on Rogueways, we are blessed to receive wisdom from a man who was once a cog in the corporate wheel, only to awaken to the true meaning of life and reach beyond the cubicled prison, and now works to create the version of life that honors the truth of his soul. He is the deep thinker, the life creator, the guide, and the host of his own show, Expanding Reality. Brandon Thomas, welcome to Rogueways, and how are you doing tonight? Oh gosh, now I can't hear you.
Amazing. That was an incredible welcome
Good.
to the show.
I'm
Thank you so
glad.
much.
I guess there's a little
No.
bit of problem in the connection, but it looks clear
Yeah,
to
how
me
about
on
now?
the stream end.
Yeah, it's being
So weird. How far are we out from Mercury?
retrograde.
I don't get it.
Yeah, apparently we're actually, I think, in it. I'm pretty sure that's true. So maybe that's it. We'll blame it on that at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It'll get better and better
Yeah,
as the
amazing
stream
intro.
goes
Thank
on,
you so
I'm
much.
sure, our connection. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad to
Yeah.
have you here. We had such a good time on your show, and now we get to do it on my show. So I'm sure it'll be great.
Oh, it was killer. Yeah, no, you killed it. Everybody loved it.
Loves you. So great feedback.
Back on that. That was just easily one of my favorite conversations.
You're just. It's wonderful.
You
Aw.
had such enlightening points on it. Like when we were talking about the electroculture thing with the copper. When you mentioned the wizard staff, and
You just kind of made me rethink that whole thing with the wizard staff. I'm like, oh my god, it just put a whole new spin on it. So it's just really interesting. You just really made me think. So thank you.
Oh, I love that. I honestly don't even remember what I said about the wizard staff. So I guess people are going to have to go back and listen to that episode on expanding reality. And I might myself just to see what I said.
It was awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited for tonight. And I just want the audience out there who's watching in the chat on Rockfin or YouTube to just let us know if our audio is like at least somewhat matched to you. We just had some issues before the show. And so I just don't want to be like blasting you out of the ballpark with me and then having Brandon be quieter or vice versa. So just let us know and we can fix that. And so I do want to let everyone know also, one day of brightness is 1 week away from today. Today in 1 week, we have just finished One Day of Brightness. And this is the event that I look forward to every equinox and every solstice. We're doing the winter solstice, obviously, this coming Sunday, the 18th. It is virtual. You can grab your tickets now. It's going to leave you healthier, brighter, wiser, more informed, connected, more deeply than ever, and buzzing in your spiritual upliftment, where we will have had shamanic healing and journeying that day. We will have tapped into our spiritual skills. We will have created a powerful healing field together. We will have learned mediumship and how to become our own mediums from Joshua Lewis. Super excited about that. And we'll also have received wisdom and amazing upliftment from the Gnostic leader and teacher, the great math magician Marty Leeds. It's going to be so stellar. I can't wait. So everyone always wishes the day was never over. Once it ends, it's a little bit sad. It's hard, but we always get the next solstice and equinox to come back together and be brighter than ever. So I can't wait to see you there. Grab your tickets now at rogueways.org in the shop. You just go down to One Day of Brightness, and you can click below you wherever you're watching or listening to get there. To do that, a bunch of tickets already gone. So if you plan on being there, get your tickets now. I can't wait. I get so excited every time. So just a week away. Now back to you, Brandon, with the pointless question of the episode. It's not very pointless, but it's been on my mind lately because that kid, Max Laughlin, he keeps coming back up. People keep sending me messages reminding me about this kid, and maybe you remember him, but his idea was that I think his idea was it was in 2012. Maybe it was another time, but I'm pretty sure he thought this happened in 2012. And that CERN somehow like exploded the whole world, right? And everybody died, but like the universe couldn't really handle that. So it just shifted everyone into a similar timeline nearby. that's what all the Mandela effects are, and we're just living in a kind of nearby dimension. Do you feel like that's what happened? Do you remember all of that? What are your thoughts?
I feel like it's entirely possible. I had Human Vibration on. The episode will be out very, very soon, yesterday. And so when we spoke about the Mandela effect, something we were talking about is it could be just a real long game psyop. And so it could just be like something really long term. And I kind of related it to a conversation I had with Micah Dank on the show about that perhaps all the people that wrote the Bible just were a secret society that got together, wrote the Bible, and then have been playing it out like a script. So we think of some folks may think of this ignorantly by thinking that they're just making this shit up on the spot and that it's being very reactionary, and they're just kind of like, let's do this, and they have a weekly meeting, but perhaps it's some real long game stuff going on. Maybe the Mandela effect is the same thing. We jokingly said whenever he slides in Tom Cruise in Risky Business, you remember this one, right? And allegedly he was wearing, a pink shirt and no sunglasses, but we all remember a white button-up shirt with sunglasses. I mean, people have dressed up like this for Halloween. This is an awesome one, right? And so we talked about this, like perhaps they said, okay, Tom, now put on the white shirt with the glasses and slide in this time on that take. And then they just hang on to it or just release that. And then maybe it's a whole huge cahoots thing. Now, I'm a big fan of the freaky woo-woo, so I think it's just possibilities, right? But at a level, of course, this is absolutely possible. And I'd love that kid you were talking about, because I remember all those videos of him just sitting there at his kitchen counter breaking down quantum physics and reality and everything. I was just like, oh my God. And when he started talking about CERN and the Mandela effect and everything like that, it was just blowing my mind. And I do think, though, it's funny because somebody, I guess, lately, I guess this has been coming up on TikTok is where I've been seeing it. And people are like, where's this Matt? He disappeared. And so all the theories start. And then some guy drug up a picture of him and his family from 2 years ago or something like that. So apparently the kid's okay. They've just been hanging out. But it's very interesting, though. I think it's interesting. And what you said to the idea of shifting over, that threw me down this rabbit hole of what's called quantum immortality. And the interesting idea behind that, I'm sure you've heard of it, is if you die, let's say that this is like a movie or a game, but in the game or the movie, you could bungle it, like some UFO contactee cases talk about, it gets bungled, they don't do everything perfect, like some things happen. So maybe in this life as well, some things happen that are unforeseen, and you kind of do your best to follow the script as your higher self or whatever wants it to be. And then maybe, you die somehow. Well, then perhaps like you shift into another reality that's so close to our own that the only perceivable change is like a dash in between kid or cat, right? But everything else, as far as like your mission here, like nothing directly affected your impact here, and so therefore you get to carry it out. So this idea that like if we all died suddenly, then yes, the universe or whatever would be like, hey, we weren't finished, and just kind of shift this into another reality that's so close, but maybe the Monopoly man never wore a monocle. You know what I mean? And so perhaps this is what's going on. I think it's very interesting, and to also think that maybe like a plasma apocalypse type event happens every single day, but we just shift into another reality where it didn't, and then a new Mandela effect comes up where there's now like a vulture on King Tut's head along with the cobra. Did you know that? That's one of them?
No, I've never even heard of that one.
Okay, when you think of King Tut, his head, his the bust that they had of him right on his sarcophagi. Do you think of the right on the head, the little cobra coming out? Is there anything else up there that you can remember?
No, I would only remember that snake. Yeah.
Now it's a vulture. So maybe now there's a vulture as well. So now there's two figures up there. There's a cobra and a vulture. So it's crazy. That's an awesome Mandela effect. It's fun. So if you think of it like this, then perhaps like we die all the time and we shift into new realities constantly. Now, another thing that Matt kid was talking about that kind of, led to the conversation of is that we all died in 2012 because of CERN or because of whatever. And actually our subconscious or whatever collectively just kind of continues this place. It's not even real anymore. It's just kind of an echo of what we think this place should be because we all died suddenly. And so we're creating it as we go even more intently, and that's why it's like chaotic and crazy sometimes.
Yeah,
it's a fun theory. I don't know,
it's a super fun theory to play around with. I've always kind of been, that's interesting, you mentioned the Risky Business and the shirt colors and that they had that clip, and they're just kind of holding on to it and waiting and seeing this long game sort of thing. We know they have this sort of mentality because there's even like, God, there's books written about like this is like before I don't know, shit got even crazier. But even when I was a communist in like 2003, there was these books about how a bunch of the elite politicians and the psychopath class basically were sort of like obsessed with making the end times come to be. So like they would
Okay.
try to find things to pull off that would make it sound to like the normies, the rest of us, the sheep or whatever, that the end times were like on the cusp or like starting to happen, because they thought if enough people believed that, it would like bring Jesus back. Like, and it was actually like an obsession with Jesus, not like satanic sort of shit necessarily, but I'm sure there's both sides to that story, honestly. But like, so they're trying to make this happen. So they might go out and like try to make a locust plague occur or whatever. They see, Jesus has got to come back now. It's time or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, the way you're talking about it, they've like planned it so much that they even have these extra clips that they're going to throw out and be like, see, your whole universe is crazy. It's not what you thought it was. Here's the difference. And that, you know, I've always also thought, maybe this is just AI. Have you ever searched on Google for something you know for sure exists and you're using all the right keywords and you still can't find it? Right?
Oh,
You go to
yeah.
DuckDuckGo just in case, pre-search just in case. Nope, still can't find it. And you're like, well, I know it exists. So am I just being blocked from finding it? And if AI can do that, or algorithms or whatever you want to call it can do that, why couldn't they then, for example, show this whole group of people just the pink shirted Tom Cruise or whatever, right? And just fuck with them a little and just see, like, what are they going to think it is? How are they going to explain it to themselves? Like, this is just a test pool to see both how good the AI is at catching every single circumstance and like, what do people do when they think, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on? What is reality? Right?
Yeah, and it's all perception management too. So if you think about it too, I mean, there's real world examples of this. Like Time magazine puts out different covers of magazines in different places. The same newspapers that go out to nationally in the US will have different headlines featured on the front where Democrats live, and then different ones from the same newspaper. So they change things around to custom tailor to the demographic where they're at. So you kind of get this like custom tailored algorithm to you that not only perpetuates what you already believe and reinforces your paradigm without challenging it, because that's the world that you have, existed in. It's just created for you. They're just like, yeah, here's more of what you want. And, I think at a level it encourages you to challenge it. And this is kind of what the whole system is at a level to me anyway, is that, yeah, if it's all this crazy stuff, then time doesn't matter, right? If this is some sort of like simulation or unity consciousness idea, perhaps the adversity here is just you at a level, right? Let's say that it's all one thing and it's all consciousness. It's just you at a level. So if that's the case, then it's you tricking you. It's that old image, it's a great meme. It's like a dude standing on a cliff and it's like a huge hand behind him and it says
Yeah.
like God or you and then God and then also God and also God and also God
Yeah.
and then the hand catching you. So it's all the same thing, right? And so if you think about it this way, then the algorithm would know and pitch these things cyclically, like the AIDS to the COVID thing. Those are cyclically completely mirrored, identical things that occurred within the same framework, at a cyclical pattern, both involving some of the same characters, which is really interesting too. So if you think about it this way, you think that maybe the Mandela effect was something planted back there as an idea, and then Fruit of the Loom's in on the shit. They go, yeah, we'll put a cornucopia in there for a little while, and then we'll scrub it from the record. We'll kill everybody that worked for us out in the field somewhere, and there'll be no trace of it. And then we'll just call people crazy. And maybe it is this deep because, like I said, maybe they can hop in and out of time, and like they can, hop up and be like, okay, if we plant this here now, it's going to lead to this kind of awakening thing, and they're just going to start questioning like crazy. So all we have to do is move the Statue of Liberty from Liberty Island to Easter Island or vice versa, whatever. I can't remember which one.
Yeah.
And then all this crazy stuff. But I love the Mandela effect because to me, it's something that's kind of, it's fun. It's not something heavy like 9/11 or something like that. It's like a fun thing to where you're like, wait a minute, this is crazy. And it really challenges, I think it really challenges your reality more than your certainty of how you remembered it, which is very interesting because it's written off to something that's just you just misremembered. You know what I mean? It's an easy one. That's a 3D answer, but I think there's something more than that. But I think the fact that you're more compelled to find it interesting that you swear to God that the Karate Kid had a red sun on his headband, not a black one, and then it's shown not to be that, or the mirror, any of these examples that resonate because they're, and it's an interesting medium, the Mandela effect too, because it's so in your childhood, you know what I mean? It's so it taps into nostalgia, with like products you loved as a kid, like cereals and cartoons and movies and shit like that. So it's things that resonate because they're kind of like mini JFK moments or 9/11 moments for everybody. Because you can be like, hang on, because I fucking remember watching Shazam in my cousin's basement because we were laughing our ass off because my girl cousin was farting so bad and it was horrible. So there's like this emotional like attachment to that movie, and we remember exactly what was on, right? You like remember. And so these type of things are attached to nostalgia, to memory, and so they resonate harder, and that's why you have a stronger attachment to them being revealed as something mysterious. But again, I think it's it's interesting because it's fucking awesome, but then also it's kind of like missing time to me in the UFO phenomena or whatever. It's kind of like again, it's like it's harmless really, but it's so interesting and just curious enough to get you to step in and go, hang on, what was going on here? You know, that's an interesting thing. Like you don't remember it being scary or anything, but it tiptoes you into the wonderment, you know, to explore further. So maybe that's what the Mandela effect's all about. It's just about people going, hang on, man, that's not fucking right. I remember this happened when this happened when this happened, and I was there, and that can't be right, you know. And so there's like some investigation there. It's fun.
Yeah, I do love that about it. It's a really good way to put it. And there is always going to be some memory stuff. Like we're just humans and we're prone to misremembering some things, or there's a reason why. Like so the Karate Kid one is a good example because like is it a red sun or a black sun? Well, I can imagine it being both. I can imagine wanting it to be red more in my mind though because that's the Japanese flag and this movie
Yeah.
seems connected to Japan to me and my brain is merging things together because it's efficient and effective or whatever. That one I can imagine being whatever, but there's some where I really can't. And like the Statue of Liberty is one of them. There's others where I'm just like, I don't think that many of us misremember this thing. Like there's not really a good reason why we would misremember it and whatever. So there's going to be some of both. And then I also think about some of the things that it's not really like a Mandela effect. It's like dude, do they time travel and fuck with the timeline in this way?
Yeah.
Because how the fuck
Yeah.
did Michael Jackson end up as a pharaoh or like a bust in an Egyptian, Like it is fucking his face. Like there is no difference between them.
But maybe this is a perk of being a lizard turd. Maybe you can, maybe perhaps there's a level of wealth and status here to where it's like, yeah, I can buy anything I want. I can do anything I want. What can I do? And then they're like, hey, and they invite you into some smoke-filled room where some dudes are sitting there and they show you this thing that they call chronovisor. And they're like, hey, do you want to watch Jesus get strung up? And you're like, what? And they're like, yeah, just give us a few $1,000,000. We'll take you there right now and you'll go see it, you know? And maybe that's the thing is that they time travel. And that's to the whole Andrew Basiago thing with Project Pegasus and all of that. Did you ever hear about any of that?
Mhm.
That's such a fun rabbit hole. And his thing is like that he was, a kid in Project Pegasus and they did these jump rooms and he went to Mars and all this kind of stuff. It's a fun story. And his whole thing was though that he met, George Bush and then Barry Santiago, which of course was Obama as kids. And Barry came up to him, Obama did, and said, I'm going to be president one day. And George Bush said, me too. And they were brothers or something like that, and they were running around, and he thought that was wild. But he said that they sent him to like Gettysburg, and that he had to dress up like the kid in a photo at Gettysburg. He's like, yeah, that's me right there, and it's a picture of him. So this would be the thing. Michael Jackson just goes back to the Pharaoh time, hangs out for a little bit. He gets introduced as a god, and then they make a damn thing out of him, and he's out of there and moonwalks, out of the pyramid. Time for his Pepsi shoot. I don't know. I think that's crazy.
Yeah, dude, I just reminded me of this video of this cat that's like moonwalking, but it's like on ice. Have you seen this video?
Awesome.
The
No,
cat
please
is just
send it
like
to me
moonwalking and
immediately.
moonwalking, and you're like confused. Like, is the cat moonwalking? Is this like a really well edited thing? And he's just walking, but someone like put him in one place or whatever. And then a person walks by and looks at him like, what the fuck is this cat moonwalking? And the cat stops and walks over like a cat and just like, oh yeah, pet me. And the person's like, oh, and like walks away. The cat's like, yeah, and just starts moonwalking again. And you're like, what?
That's crazy.
Is there moonwalking cats in the fucking world?
Yes, absolutely. This is the veil thin. This is because some of us are starting to realize that we all died in 2012, and the veil's, we can't keep the dream going the way it is. So somebody's out there like, I'm going to prove to you that we died in 2012. Watch, I'm going to make this cat walk in place. You know what I mean? And then they script that whole thing out, and then that's how they prove it, and then they vanish into thin air.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. And you figure out what's going on here, and you just queef out of existence, and you're gone.
Rainbow body. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just keep ramping it up with everything. They're like, okay, yeah, set the ocean on fire. Remember that? And we're not even talking about it anymore. That huge pit of hell that was on fire in the middle of I don't remember where it was in the ocean.
The Gulf
And
of
we just
Mexico? Was it an
I think
oil
it was the
spill?
Gulf of Mexico or the Bermuda Triangle, somewhere around in there. And
Was
it was
it?
a couple years ago, and it just like went crazy, and people were talking about these, like that they were nuking Godzilla and shit. It was wild, and that just went away.
Yeah,
It's so crazy.
I do remember that. This was like the God, I think it even had expanding in the word in the title actually.
Oh, cool.
Something
Yeah.
Horizon or something.
Yeah.
See, this is
But
the
it's
thing that
wild.
happens too is like you pay attention for so long that I can't even actually remember
Yeah.
shit. If someone would have said to me a week ago, like, remember Max Laughlin? I'd be like, no, who? But because I saw a video like 2 days ago, I'm like, that fucking kid. And my brain is like, yeah, that kid, that was like a big deal at the time. It was like
It's a
so
huge
cool
deal.
to see. And you were like, oh, the indigo children are real and like the world's gonna be saved. And then it just disappeared and I completely forgot about it.
Yeah. It's a great point you bring up because that was like our first hope of like, oh wow, these kids with superpowers and like this super cognitive ability are coming out, and that's how they're gonna come out first. Like they'll come out flying with laser eyes later,
Yeah.
but they're gonna come out super smart with these down concepts of just quantum physics and this crazy reality shit. And they're just gonna be like, yeah, hey, dude, you're a toroidal field. You create your reality as you go. Let's go play on the swing set. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It'll be that flip it. You know?
Totally. Just to jump back to the Michael Jackson thing, my other thought about that is that he was like, I have all this money. I can do whatever I want. I'm going to pick a totally obscure random bust and I'm going to get plastic surgery until I look exactly like that thing. So that someday someone will find it and think that I time traveled back because that's like the best joke I could play.
Yeah, I think that's good too. I think it I think either are absolutely possible because now I'm sitting here thinking of the Sphinx, and they went back and somebody, I don't know, whoever that was, that's probably a Rockefeller, and they're like, yeah, time travel me back, and chisel that lion's head off of that damn thing and put my face on it, and
Yeah,
maybe I don't know, because it's just really interesting, and yeah, maybe that's the thing. There, I mean, there are people that imitate. Folks like that all the time with the corsets. They manipulate their body, piercings, to tattoos, all kinds of things like that. So yeah, I mean that's not that out of the scope of possibility for them to physically want to alter their body to look more like a god, like a deity. Maybe even subconsciously, even if they were like, "Ooh, I favor that shape of the face" or whatever, and they just didn't know why. Maybe it was some sort of subconscious deity complex type of a thing, or maybe he was freaking Tutankhamun in a past life, and you know, uh, really figured that out. And was like, I want to go out, kind of looking like myself in the same in every life. And he
yeah.
leaves like a monument of himself so he can know that in every single life. That'd
That's
be
what reminds
crazy.
him in the next life. He's like, there I fucking am.
There I am. That's fucking me. Handsome devil. How you doing? Yeah.
You handsome devil. I love it. This is so random, but we were talking about the ocean and my brain started wandering. And have you ever heard of that the theory that specifically in the Pacific Ocean, there's like a giant continent that's being hidden from everyone and that's where all the psychopaths have their like paradise?
I have heard of this. What are your thoughts about it? Because when you map out the flight paths, because I think one of the indicators of this was the kind of the flat Earth talk when they were talking about flight paths,
Yeah.
and they notice, that they don't go over a certain part, which yeah, I mean it explains the flat Earth, but again, perhaps everything's a goddamn psyop, and maybe the flat Earth is a nice distraction from just the idea that maybe it is a damn ball, maybe it's so much bigger than we think and there's a ton of extra land here, but that it is more of a spherical thing. I don't know, but I agree with you. It sounds awesome. The extra land thing has always tripped me the fuck out. Like always tripped me out, especially when the flat Earth talk comes in. Because I mean, I'm a fan of like whatever realm. I think this is more of a realm simulated and generated by you. So really, just whatever you want. Like if you get in a rocket and you think a ball will be there, then a ball renders beneath your feet as you fly up. I like the flat Earth thing specifically for the extra land, and this, can again tie into the extraterrestrial phenomena. Maybe they're not coming from Zeta Reticuli. Maybe Zeta Reticuli is just a few thousand meters over there, on another continent, not necessarily another planet. And they're not going to tell you that because there's sort of a story here that everybody's invested in perpetuating, even the people who come here to do whatever. So I dig this idea. What are your thoughts on it? Because I'm very curious to see what you think.
Well, I just, I'm a Sagittarius, so I just kind of flow with like what's coming at me in the moment and like
Yeah.
develop my ideas as I go. And they're always subject to change. But I just did an episode on the moon on Middle Path on Thursday. So it's open to subscribers. Anybody who's on Rockfin or on Apple Podcasts who has, the access can get that. And one of the many things that came up is this map that's allegedly, a Nazi map. I say that in quotations because like anything cool or mysterious is like Nazi related for
Yeah.
some reason. And who knows what the map is, but lots of ideas were put forth on this moon episode I did. And one of them is this map seems to show the moon as a map, as a reflection of Earth, and that there, if so, you can really easily see like the Middle East and Italy and like Africa, and all the shapes are really fucking accurate, actually. But there's some extra land, and there's the ice wall, and there's a bunch more extra land outside of that. So there is a Pacific hidden continent. There is a even Atlantic, some hidden chunks of land. And I haven't looked yet at like the flight paths and how they would interact with that moon map version, right? And if they like all just happen to skirt around all these hidden lands or whatever. Right? Why wouldn't they? If we have the fucking treaty that keeps us out of the ice wall, then clearly they can like go around these other hidden lands too. But then yeah, there's all that extra land, like you said, it could be like all kinds, who knows who lives beyond the ice wall, right? And so that was really fascinating to me. Then on that same Nazi map of this moon as a reflection of the Earth with all that extra land, there was one of these views, and you don't know what the hell any of these things. There's all these different things around the map on the outside, just like really complicated old maps would have, like weird just charts and things and other pictures. It's got one that's like, it's like the side view of an eyeball, right? And so like you can imagine like the dome of the lens of your eyeball, and then where your, I don't know, cornea and whatever, where we see that, that's actually like kind of a flat plane. And so they show this flat plane and this sort of dome, and it just, and then they show the whole like eyeball under that, where all the like veins would be, or the nerves, the optic nerves or whatever. And it just struck me that like this could actually be both a flat and a globe, right? We're on the surface, we're on the flat part. There's a dome over us, but there's also this whole underground hidden Earth, and it is actually domed. Do you see what I'm saying? So it could be like the part we live on is literally flat Earth, but like we are also on a globe. We're just like kind of in it. It does concave Earth, it does flat Earth, it does globe Earth. It kind of hits every fucking thing. And I was like, dude, what if that's what it is? Because I've heard so many people who channel and talk to whatever their guides and allies, and I have purposely not asked mine yet because I'm just like not ready, to even hear about it or whatever. But they all say the same thing, which is like, is it flat or is it globe? And they always say the same thing. It's both, and it depends on your perspective. And I'm always like, this is a bullshit answer. Fuck you guys. Like whatever.
It's such a perfect answer.
It's true, I think.
I think so, but I think this is true for a lot of things. So I had Taylor Alina on the show. She does an awesome show called Spiritual Thoughts, THOTS, and yeah, she's just great. We were talking about this idea of chupacabras, cryptids, things like that, flat Earth. I heard a reference a while back, this story that this guy told about the how to view different perspectives and how exactly what we're talking about here, how to view the different options for reality. So let's say that we give ourselves 3 dimension of consciousness, 3D, 4D, and 5D. Okay, we'll just kind of keep it in that pocket because it's talked about a lot. So let's say that there's a 3D version of this place, meaning that that this is a ball. Everything that daddy government tells you is true. You have to get shots. You have to do everything they say, and you believe all of that. And there's nothing outside of that, and you can't see anything outside of that.
You're in the cave.
Now, you are in the cave. This is the Plato's allegory of the cave. Is the 3rd dimension? Absolutely. Now the 4th dimension would be you get out of the cave. Okay. Now that is where you see all this place for what it is, for the corruption here, for the lies, for what's really going on, for the hiddenness, and you see a bunch of lies. And that's kind of what I do. I don't know what's going on here. I'll never claim to know that. I only can look around and go, hang on, that's not going on. NASA is absolutely lying. I don't know why, but they're definitely lying. And so then it leads to these kind of awesome conversations, and I love it. So let's say at that level, it's very scary. This is where a lot of conspiracy theorists find themselves, because it's very, you can see it for what it is, but then you also see everybody still asleep. It's very fear-based, but it's very truth-based. So you're awakened, but it's intense. Now, beyond the 4th D, There's the fifth dimension. Now, how this was laid out in this conversation for this guy was chemtrails. Okay, so geoengineering. In the third dimension, they're just fucking contrails. Their government says that's what they are. That's what they are, and they believe it. A fourth D person that's woken up a little bit finally gets to the conversation in all of the conspiracy theories they're researching of geoengineering and say, hang on. And then they look at it and how long the US government's been doing it and all of that good stuff. And they see that it's going on and that it is a reality. Will you try and tell someone from the fourth dimension, a third dimension person, somebody reading at a third dimension, living at a third dimension reading level, then about chemtrails, and they're going to look it up real quick. They're no, daddy government told me, and CNN said it's contrails. There's nothing to look at. They can't see it. They physically can't see it, even though you can see it so goddamn clearly. Then you get to the fifth dimension where you get more of where I've been, man. You know, a conspiracy analyst, as Charlie Robinson says, I'm not going to take on the negative energy. The shit, I'll look into it, but I know that I'm not going to affect it or add energy to it. So I greet it with love and grace. Even for the people who don't see them as geoengineering, that's fine. You'll get there eventually if you do, and that's okay. It's not for me to facilitate. And then the people who are so scared and want to wake everybody up, which I did for years and years and years, and even them you have compassion for because you went through all of that. Like you've been there, but you're at a new place with it now to where you see it as all an expansion of consciousness. And even the lizard turds and your Klaus Anal Schwabs here are for our conscious evolution and expansion, and they play a very important role here. And when you start seeing it like that, that's the fifth dimension. And yeah, you can see chemtrails, but you know what they are, but you also understand that you transmute whatever comes in, and that you're physically adding negative energy by being scared of something that may or may not be going on. Is not a helpful or a way that serves you energetically way of dealing with it. So looking at it this way, you can look at anything this way. Maybe in the third dimension, somebody sees a coyote. Maybe in the fourth dimension, somebody sees a mangy coyote. Maybe in the fifth, you see a goddamn chupacabra. It's the same thing, but you're at a different perceptive level. And so then you scale this idea up to everything. Then you say, okay, well, what about this place? Maybe in the third dimension reality where daddy government's absolutely true, the narrative of NASA and Neil deGrasse Tyson and all of that, that's exactly what you believe in. So therefore, that's absolutely accurate to you. In the fourth dimension, maybe you start to question a little bit, maybe more flat earth, but maybe your dome, flat earth, to where you're like, this enclosed thing, and that's okay. Fifth dimension, maybe where I kind of find myself is I'm like expansive realm. You create it as you go. Like you tell me what you think this place is because I want another cool thing to tell my friends about. You know what I mean? Like you create a new place. And so you see this as now an expansive realm, a cell theory, the upturned edge theory, like Auguste Piccard, that dude that went up in that balloon in like 1930s. And he said it looked like a flat disc with an upturned edge. He got pictures and everything. And so, maybe, again, it is this idea, but I'm a huge fan of thinking of it this way. And perhaps this is how you get access to things like the paranormal phenomena, the UFO phenomena. It's your perceptive ability to perceive these things that are all here. It's just kind of expanding into the ultraviolet or, the infrared a little bit, if you want to use a visual thing instead of your baseline limitations that you have sensorily here. Maybe you expand those a little bit vibrationally, and that gives you access to things that you normally wouldn't have an eye for. You know what I mean? Because you just can't see it in the third dimension. You just can't see it, and it's that simple. And this is why you can emotionally detach from people being dumb or people not seeing things and people not like waking up or getting it, no matter how much sense it makes. It's like, oh, okay, you're not at that reading level, and that's okay. Like you can't explain a mortgage or taxes to a third grader. You just can't, because they're not going to comprehend. They got a lot to go through before they can even wrap their mind around what the fuck money, and all that is anyway. So how are they going to understand from that perception? Even your dad, your grandma, like it doesn't matter age wise. It's about awareness wise is what we're dealing with here. And that's why people like that Matt guy, when he walked in as a kid and he started being so incredibly articulate and eloquent and wise, you're just like, holy shit, these are the Starseed kids that we're talking about. This is like this kid that came in and he's like wise as fuck. So you see this kind of higher intellect being passed down, which is great, but they're the ones above, I guess above the ones that came before, like your living ancestors that are here that are still kind of kicking about, like that energetically is what I think like we talk about here, that you're here to kind of transcend, right? That's just one of the elements here. But again, from that reading level, like I know what kind of shit I can talk to my mom about and what I can't, and that's okay. Like it's taken me decades to figure that out, but I'm just like, okay, don't invest in this conversation, and I even know when it's happening. I'm like, we're not doing this, and I'll even tell her, Mom, we're not doing this. And she'll be like, okay, you're right, you're right. And
Yeah.
she'll ask about the donkeys or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, it's like a perceptive thing. So I agree with you. I think I'm at the point now to where I think it could be a bunch of shit. To just honestly whatever you want.
Yeah. I think that's really beautiful to think of it that way too. And I think it's beautiful to acknowledge how perfect that system is. That's the design of this place, that everyone gets to be exactly where they're at. They get to be exactly where they need to be. They get to manifest and draw from exactly the types of experiences they need to have in order to do exactly what they're doing, or move beyond it, or regress backward, or whatever they want to do with it. And we all get to be here together doing the exact same thing, but in like totally different places from totally different perspectives. Like it really couldn't be more perfect in that regard. And it's easier and easier the more you see it that way as well. Like you said, all the like evil, satanic, whatever, bad stuff, you get to be like, I mean, whatever. Like it's serving me in some way, and or you get what you deserve and chose, and or like we all move past this in some grand explosion of love that is forced out by like just how hard it gets or whatever. Who knows, right? It's all going somewhere though. And there's a purpose to it. And I just feel also like it helps you like take more responsibility. Right?
Yes.
Like you get away from that whole victim mentality thing when you're like, but why are they hiding this land from us? And like, why can't we be in the chosen land? And like, they don't want us. And like, they're keeping it all for themselves. And I'm like, fuck, I'm in the chosen land. Like, I'm surrounded by flowers that are beautiful and plants that I brought into my house that love me. And like, I get to spend all my time with the coolest person in the universe that I found and like built this life with. And I get to talk to people like you. Like, this is rad as fuck. Why would I complain about this? Like,
Yes,
I'm not
yeah.
saying like everything is always perfect, but I'm just saying like you get to make life as perfect as you want to. And if it's not as perfect as you want it to be, you get to do something differently. And that's up to you. Like take responsibility for it and make it what you love. I think that's a beautiful gift.
That's a beautiful gift. And that is, right? Because then, a lot of what we talk about is like reality and like what is fucking reality and nothing's real. And, you can get kind of lost in the ideas. And I always encourage people that, don't get lost in the ideas too far to where you feel that it's meaningless. Like, even if it's not real, it still has absolute meaning because it has the meaning that you give it. And so this is a beautiful place full of incredible things. And so even though there's a lot of fuckery going on, like you don't have to participate in it. And I guess that's been my main message for the past couple of years. Like, tend your garden. You don't have to participate in it. I look at this as an energetic system, just where I'm at now, as an energetic system that your attention is your currency. And so claim, kind of referred this to like the river of life. It's a metaphor that we can all kind of wrap our minds around. You're going down a river. Let's say you're in a little boat and you're going down a river, the river of life, and you can keep moving and keep flowing. Or if you just stay in the main flow, you grow and evolve and you can cover a lot more ground and it's gorgeous. But there's all these little whirlpools all off to the side. And one whirlpool could be Ukraine, and that Russia's just going to nuke us and drop a bomb on us and freak everybody out. And they're like, oh, and if you pay attention to it long enough, your boat steers where you're looking. And so where your attention goes, energy flows. And so your boat's going to get turned into that whirlpool, and now you're stuck in it. And now you're just spinning around in this nonsense while your garage gets dirtier, while your fishing rods that you bought for your kids sit in the closet because you're too busy, focusing on what CNN's doing to take your kids fishing and to live your life and to do something here with what you have now. That to me is what this is all about. It's to drag you out of what you could be doing, which is actually physically enjoying where you're at or making where you're at what you want it to be. So when you figure this out, you can just keep flowing down the river of life. I mean, if you just glance over at it like we do with these conspiracy theories and analysts rather than theories, you just go, oh, okay, cool. Wow, look at that nugget. Oh shit, my Maria found something crazy about that, and you can find these things and you're like, okay, that's awesome. And then keep moving forward. Like, go create dope shit, go read somebody's book you just had on the show, something like that. There are other things that you can be doing that are actionable that will really change your life. And I think that the things out there, especially the real loud ones, are meant to be distractive. And so as long as you just call them for what they are and just say, you're no thanks, it's a bluff. You're just like, it just takes all the power out of it. It's the wizard behind the curtain. You just pull the curtain back and you're like, oh, okay. And they're like, oh, okay. and then you just move on. They're like, all right, we'll get the people behind you, but don't tell them. And you're like, okay, that's fine. It's like Sam Tripoli's metaphor. It's a haunted house, that we're just kind of moving through, and shit just jumps out at you. Like, all right, man, that was awesome. They're like,
Yeah,
all right, get out
good
of
job.
here.
You almost got me
It's
at that one. Yeah.
yeah. And then to remind that, even in the haunted house metaphor, even though it's scary, right? You paid to be there. You like took time out of your day.
Yeah.
You drove somewhere. You got friends together. They all turned their schedules around, and you like wanted to be there. And so this is a good metaphor for kind of stepping into this experience with these avatars, whatever this is. You wanted to be here, and so no matter how scary and turbulent the waters may get, go back to that metaphor. It's all going to work out. It has to, because this is your story. It's great.
And you get better and better at steering a boat the whole time. And your boat gets to go
Yeah.
anywhere in the universe you want it to go, right?
Yep.
But like in the meantime, you've learned really well how to like, okay, oh, I see that, but I don't know. I'm going over here. Like hold that in your mind and like just like let your flow be directed at that and like just like almost not really even ignore, right? But just notice it and just let it go. Like, yep, there's
Yeah.
a whirlpool, there's a Ukraine, there's a Zelensky, there's no toilet paper at the store. Who cares?
Right.
I'm still going over here. Like, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard, and I love it because I don't remember. Oh yeah, my good friend Catherine O'Shea, who if you haven't had her on your show, that would be a
I'm
fun show
not.
for you too, perhaps. But she has been on the show a lot. All the audience knows and loves her, and she's very gifted. But she talks about, when you're meditating, sometimes like life isn't always presenting the perfect opportunity, right? Like you're going to sit down to meditate and then the neighbor next door is going to start like drilling, like,
Right.
and like a dog's like
lawn crew
freaking
shows up.
out somewhere, right? And like
Yeah.
your baby's crying and then like house next or whatever. Like, well, are you going to stop meditating? You can. Sure. And then you've lost the opportunity. Or you can be like, fuck it, I'm going to fucking go for it anyway. This is like the best meditation training I could ever have, actually. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
similar, right? You just choose to do it anyway. And see how much better you get at like manifesting and creating and choosing your own reality for yourself. There's like nothing better than that, actually. I'm not saying sometimes I'm just like, okay, too many distractions. Like I need some relief. Someone come give me a lifeboat, like stop the flow for a second. Like, right. That's cool too. But it
You
is
can do
good
that
training.
too. It's called mushrooms. Do that every day.
Yeah.
I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Take
Get
a little break.
reset.
Yeah, I have a friend who's like, I had to get my mind right, so I just like I did a trip and bicycled around the city. I'm like, cool.
Yeah. Michael Pollan put it really, really well. He has this really cool analogy of your brain being like snow on a hill, and the things that you learn and the things that you repeat are you sledding down the hill. And as you sled, it creates these grooves in the hill. And so if you want to take a new path or train your mind to do something differently, to stick with the analogy, your natural inclination is to go with the incline and go back into that rut, because it's where everything's been going. It's a natural path, right? And so his thing is psychedelics then are new fresh powder on the hill. So it just like basically cleans the slate, so you can rewrite new neurons all day. And I love that analogy for it. I think that's a great analogy.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the other thing I get a lot of the people who I'm working with, one-on-one or in groups, they're like, this is really hard. It's really hard actually to meditate, or it's really hard to like make different choices. It's really hard to change your mind and your heart and your life and yeah, it is hard. Because just like that, you've had how many decades of choosing that rut, that rut, that
Yes.
rut, that rut, and now you're trying to choose a different one. Like that is really, really hard, right? But as long as you know that just helps you be like, okay, at least I understand why it's hard, why it's so easy to do the same thing again and again. And that every time I manage to choose this other thing, I fucking won, dude. Like that's crazy awesome. I chose a whole new hill, in fact. Like that's amazing. And you just keep aiming that way. Eventually, that's the new rut. That's the new pattern. It's a lot easier. It's not always
100%.
this hard.
It's not, and it gets so much easier. You get through that little bit of a time, but that little bit of a time, you're fueled by curiosity, and you're fueled by something new. It's that like NRE, as they call it, new relationship energy. It's like you have a new relationship with yourself, a new opportunity to make promises and keep them this time. Things like that to yourself. And even small victories like that, like read 10 pages a day of any goddamn thing you want. Just do it first thing you wake up. Don't pick your phone up and swipe. Start Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements. Just start there. Read 10 pages of it every day, first thing every morning. After that, add 5 push-ups. Do 10 pages and 5 push-ups. If you do little things like this, like it'll take you max as a slow reader 20 minutes to do everything I just said. 20 minutes, and that's it. And you will change your life just because it's pattern interruption. And I'm so grateful that you brought this up. This is actually something that really, really got to me and changed me. Let me actually note that because I want to say something that you said a minute ago. Okay, when you were talking
Pattern
about
interruption.
yeah, pattern interruption. But before that, you were talking about something awesome. I was going to say something too. Oh, okay. So how you know manifestation is a thing. So my grandma used to say, never pray for patience, honey, because God's not going to give you patience. He's going to give you the opportunity to be patient. And when you really learn that and you understand that really what the universe or God or however you want to put it's doing is, it's not going to just go and poof, you can handle any situation. You're welcome. If you are really on the path to better yourself, the thing it's going to do is throw you a fuckload of things that you can't handle yet. And it's going to suck. And you're going to learn how to handle it, which is what you asked for. Now, you don't think that's what you asked for. You asked for an immediate boop on the snooze there of just like, yep, you have all this instant wisdom and knowledge. Not going to happen that way. And so, what you said earlier about whenever you choose something and like meditating, for instance, and then you get all of these distractions, that's the resistance, right? This is a natural part of it. Guy named Stephen Pressfield. He's a fiction writer, but he wrote a book in this case called The War of Art. Have you ever heard of it?
Yeah, Johnny's was
Okay.
one of his favorite books because he's an artist. So
Oh, see, and any artist, anyone really that's broken out of the matrix is who this book is for. And one of the things that he talks about, and the main theme of it is resistance, right? And he says that whenever you choose a different path, something like that, the resistance is going to pop up. And this is the God saying, oh, okay, you wanted patience. Cool. Well, then here's a bunch of things that you need to be patient through. You're going to get cut off by everybody. You're going to get in the longest traffic wreck ever when you've already been late and it's on your last straw or something like that, you know? You're going to have a bunch of shit happen. And so, but these are indicators, number one to me, that this is an opportunity for you to be a greater, grander version of yourself, and it's presenting itself to you. And it will continue to do this in different faces and situations. Sometimes, in the case of your parents, the same face and same situations, it's just more challenging. And so it just presents itself constantly until you get it right. And you know this occurs in your own on a macro level with just looking back in your own life, because once you've like achieved a lesson, it doesn't pop up anymore. You know, the shit doesn't keep coming back up in your life because you don't need to learn it anymore. Same way in this case. But what will happen is you can do this with relationships as well. If you're in a relationship and you say, we want a baby, and you start trying to have a baby, you will see people with babies all over the place. All of a sudden, your sibling that could not get pregnant to save her life now is having a baby and you're not yet. You know, you'll see all of these things, but they're indicators that if this is what you want, here's how you handle grace and how you move through this with compassion and love and level up. But you're going to level up through challenge, because that's how it fucking works here. And really, when you wrap your mind around that, then you can say, okay, well, whenever things start to go to shit, in my mind, where I'm at now, thank God this took forever, is I see it as an indicator of a level up. I'm like, okay, got it. It's clearing out. You know, it's this law of compensation. You have to get rid of the old to bring in the new. These little tower moments, these things. I honestly used to hate the shit out of them. Now, you know, yeah, they're intense and I'm still human and we feel through these things like everyone, but I see them differently through the process, which has made it just a game changer for me. So, pattern interruption. So, what I've been doing lately is this idea of, even if you let's put a woo woo spin on it because it'll be more fun. Let's say that you are into the idea of jumping timelines and you do, you know, portal timeline shifting. Like every time I walk through a threshold of a door, it's a portal to me. And I'm always leveling up into greater, grander versions of myself and better timelines and better realities. Even within the same house, you can level up 5 or 6 times just walking through portals, right?
I love it.
So you treat them like that. This world's a magical place, and it's fun, you know, to dance through it that way. Even if you actually dance through them, like do the robot through it and shit like that. Maybe it unlocks the key to the universe, and then you'll just do something crazy. Yeah, and so you do this. You're doing the shower portal thing, to where you know you leveling up in the shower and stuff like that. Another great way to jump timelines, you can look at your life like if you get in, let's say that you've had a pretty predictable, like kids have the same schedule, you have the same schedule, husband has the same schedule, whatever, or just you have the same schedule with work, with everything, and it's really laid out, and like you do the same things, you take the same trip to work every day, all of that kind of shit. Well, maybe, you know, you can look at that as being stuck in a timeline, right, or stuck in one of these ruts on the snow hill. Some Another way, besides, you know, taking a heroic dose of mushrooms to kind of shake up your cognitive, you know, recall here, is to pattern interrupt. So one thing that I've been doing lately is like take a different route when you go to the store. Like if you go to the store the same way all the time, do a different route. sometimes when you're going home, take the long fucking way. Go crazy, go out of the way, go not to the normal store that you go past it and go to the next one. Something like this. Go to a different church, something like that. Brush your teeth with the opposite hand. There are these little things that you can do to interrupt your pattern to really switch timelines. And you can think of this like, because it's a new energy and you can feel it whenever you go off script with this patternistic predictability that you've been living in. You can feel it in your heart. Like even if you like miss your exit and you take the long, there's a you can sense the pattern interruption. Now if you give yourself the opportunity to experience those feelings more often, you're really being more of a deliberate creator, and that's when shit really starts getting interesting. Just something as simple as brushing your teeth with the opposite hand.
I love that. It's so easy and simple sometimes to look at it that way. It's actually hard sometimes to remember to do the things that we're talking about again because you're so in that pattern.
Yes.
I've actually been, for the first time perhaps in my entire life in the past few years, I've had like almost no schedule. Like, I mean, I do the show regular times and, that gives me some sort of schedule. I have some other things, but like in general, my life has changed so much after leaving teaching and I make my own hours, and like just every day I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's true. I have to like remember to go to the store, because it used to be I'd just go to the store on like this day after this thing and then like whatever. And now I don't do that. Like, like, so that's been really interesting for me. It's been very, very shaking things up, and it's allowed a lot of growth to happen. But also another thing, when you were talking about that, choose a different way home or go the back way or whatever. One thing I love doing, and I don't know if anyone else will like this or not, but I like both going a different way and not having maps or anything on, right? And just guessing, like, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm going this direction. I can see that over there. Like, it really brings you a lot more into your surroundings and gives you a deeper awareness, right? And you're also, it's just a good skill to be able to navigate without maps, which is something people want to try more often too. But it's awesome. And you're just like, oh yeah, I just got here. I've never even seen that place. I've never seen any of those roads I was just on. And I proved to myself, I'm like capable. I'm an adult in the world. I can do this. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. And it helps you with cardinal direction, stuff like that. Anything like that, to where you really rely on your awareness and your ability to pay attention and to, critically think your way to somewhere. You know what I mean? Getting too dependent on like the maps and shit like that. Like, I mean, I don't know, I was raised before cell phones came out and shit like that. I was born in '82, so my like childhood was like through the late '80s, '90s, stuff like that. So we didn't have all that, and so we like memorized phone numbers and shit. You know what I mean? Well, we don't do that anymore. I think it's kind of like a skill that's been lost. And you think about this when ancient cultures talk about that writing replaced their oral traditions, therefore they got lazy and then they, got sloppy. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's this interesting way of really, taking more charge of how your brain functions, and you can do this. You can do this. You're being Bernaysed constantly in Netflix and propaganda and everything else, and they tell you how to think. And that's like the craziest damn thing, man. So install you a Thought Ninja, which is a great cognitive thing that I did it for myself out of honestly desperation, and I ended up coming up with this amazing NLP thing, and it's just helped so many people. It's been really cool. And so being mindful of your mind, that's been the biggest thing. And you don't need to meditate to do this. Like I'm not a sit meditate person. I'm not. I do walking meditations. I have this whole Mandela thing that I mode outside. So I do grounding and walking meditation at the same time. So I feel it's more efficient. I don't know.
Super cool.
So yeah, but it's, so you don't have to do all that, but man, as long as you can at least just go, hey, if I can understand, your relationship with you is what should be first and foremost priority. That's what you should figure out in my mind. I'd never tell anybody what to do. Yeah. But I would say that things really changed for me when I started paying attention to my relationship with me. And and it's something that I wasn't aware of or even thought of before. It was something, it was a non sequitur. It was an unknown unknown. I was in the third dimension and didn't even know to question that shit. But once I figured out to question that shit, that's when everything changed. That's when you really go deep on that. And that's where the change happens. It's fascinating.
So Thought Ninja is like a program that you work on with people, and they can do this with you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely down for that. I'm going to offer a coaching service actually pretty soon, or just a consulting service. Just if you want to sit around and tell fart jokes, I'm cool with that. something like that. But yes, if you want to book a time with me, go to expandingrealitypodcast.com. I'll send you that. And then we could talk about the Thought Ninja. So the rundown on it real quick was I had a really, really rough summer. Mentally, this was a really, really tough time. And without going into all the shit, it got to a point where it was so bad, I was like, I can't. It snapped me into this. I pictured it as like that Doctor Strange movie whenever she like hits him and he flies into his astral body. And it felt like that. It was like this intense like hurt and all of that from just a lot of shit. And it was like this moment of clarity where it was like, pooh, and I floated out of my body and I was like, okay. And it was one of these moments to where I was like, okay, if I can just figure out this, what leads to this, what leads to how did I get here kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like that in 80s movies or something like that. You hear the record stop and he's like, let's find out how we got here. And it was like sitting there and I was like, oh, it's your thoughts. It's because you thought of this thing and it led you to that. And then when you thought of that, it thought of that. So it's like this, like that kid's book. If you give a mouse a cookie, it's a shitty version of that. It's like, oh, okay, if you think this, it's going to go that way. And then that's when you spiral. That's when I get on my own little whirlpools in my own mind. There's some macro, micro. I was above, so below, right? So I was sitting there saying, okay, well, then all I need to do is know when to stop that. If I can catch it 2 or 3 thoughts in, it won't spiral. It's like how I pictured it was, it's like the thoughts were starting on a water slide. And if you could picture them starting and before they make it to that first hill, you can catch them real quick and grab them before they are sent down the tube and you can't reach them anymore. And so I was like, okay, if I had a thought ninja that just monitored that pattern of thought. So it was like an algorithm I installed. And again, this is all out of desperation. I was just like, dude, just monitor your fucking thoughts. So I was like, okay, well, all you've got to do is make sure that these thoughts don't propagate. And the only ones I want into my mind space. So I created like a club. It's like a shitty metaphor. So he's like a bouncer at a club, right?
Yeah.
In this space, these vibrational patterns and what serves me now, this is the guest list. This is who can come in and who can't. Lower vibrational things that we want to catch before they go down the water slide, they're just basically not wearing the right shoes. It's not something we tell the fuck off. But if it persists, the Thought Ninja will come in. He's got a dope katana and he knows how to use it and do this incredibly visual, awesome, oral, amazing thing and just swipe it and kill it. I have rewritten my mind. I have changed neurons. I have rewritten pathways because of this. I have stopped spirals. I now recognize things before they happen. And it was just due to this is this observer concept, I was stepping into observer mode and having something take over that I knew could defend my honor. It wasn't like I was sending a kid out there with a spaghetti noodle. You know what I mean? It was like a ninja with a katana. So there was like this element of skill and assassin and privy and, just whimsy to it, I guess. And he does these badass things. He cuts them and they're gone. Now I found a day once I started paying attention to my thoughts, which I've been doing for years, but Thought Ninja was a next level version of it.
Yeah.
Once I started doing that, it was about 2 or 3 months into it. I went one fucking day. I remember it. I remember it specifically. It was a Tuesday. And it was one day when 0 intrusive thoughts came in that I didn't want, not one. And I'm very mindful of it. And like Ram Dass says, like, don't judge yourself if you're doing this, people. So that's the biggest thing. If you're doing it, do not judge whatever thoughts come down. Like Ram Dass says, observe them like leaves floating down the river without judgment. Like it's not up to you to judge. You just go, there it is. Especially if you can apply some of the higher concepts like that, we're just receivers for thoughts, and like Tesla was talking about and a lot of others. And if you think about it this way, then you can say, okay, well, those thoughts aren't even mine, really. And so really my job is to hold the frequency that I want of the thoughts to receive through me. And you can think of this, if you are a receiver and thoughts through you and through, frequency, then you can think of a radio. So if you think of this as a radio, you were just on the smooth jazz station and you want to go to the alternative rock station. So, there's going to be a little static in between there. And that's the times when you're going to watch a lot of leaves float down that damn river. And it's going to be very challenging for you not to judge yourself for it. Let them go. Once you hit that alternative rock station, it cleans up and you're not going to see any more leaves because it's a clear signal. You're not going to hear any more jazz, rock, or funk or whatever. You're going to hear only alternative rock because you're only tuned to that frequency. You're going to only receive that station. Same with your mind. You're only going to receive those vibrational matches of thoughts. And this is how I did it. I made a t-shirt for it. It's over on the store there. It's Thought Ninja. It's fucking cool shit. And it has just changed my life. And I've had several people write in since I've been talking about it that have said, dude, I've got my thought ninja and it's amazing. I've had women, 2 women that wrote in that took me up on the option to make it a onabu geisha, which is a female samurai in Japan. And so they have their little onabu geisha up there, and they've named her and everything. And she's up there just wrecking shop on it, and there's been some incredible results. And so I encourage everyone, if you're hearing this, you've been gifted the thought ninja, you get one automatically, kind of like Oprah. It's like, check under your chair in your mind, hey,
Everybody.
and everybody, you get a thought ninja, and you get a thought ninja. And so assign him to what you want. Do not judge what he finds. And every now and then he'll even ancillary phenomena, not only the monitoring of incoming, but he'll kind of bring me things in my mind every now and then and be like, hey, this is an old belief that I found in the back. Do you still subscribe
Ha.
to this? And I'll be like, no. And then he's just closing open tabs for me constantly, and he'll kick it up in the air and swipe it. And it's this whole thing, but it really, really helped me. And it just completely changed how I'm mindful about being mindful, which was very important. Like it's one of the biggest things, honestly. Bigger than any conspiracy theory you can research, anything like that. Figure your relationship out with you and how your mind works without judgment, and move from there.
It's beautiful. I have a totally different version of this, which is perfect that there are infinite versions of this, right? And the Thought Ninja is such a powerful and awesome, badass way of doing this. But it's just like a, oh God, what's that word? I'm not going to remember right now, but it's a
Like
thought
a tulpa
form.
or an egregore.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A tulpa or an
Yeah.
egregore.
And that's what I've called it. I created an egregore or a tulpa. Yeah.
And therefore it has this life of its own, honestly,
Yes.
and that's why it started bringing you stuff. Like, you didn't ask me about this or tell me to do this, but actually I found this thing, and so I'm just gonna run this by you, right? Is this what I was? Yeah, this is what we're doing. Which is so
incredible.
cool. And that's the morphogenetic field, right? And we can apply any name we want to it, and we can apply anything, but the main idea of it is the more attention you give it, just like we were talking about earlier with the whirlpools, the stronger it gets and the more things go into creating that. You're literally manifesting that for yourself. You're creating this thing. And for me, I call on higher guides or whatever, guides or allies or higher beings to help with this type of thing, right? It's the exact same thing. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
can you help me? Like, I know I do this and I know it tends to be at this time, and like, but when I get to that, it's like such a trigger that I just have such a hard time not sliding down that rut in the snow, right? Can you just help me like
Yeah.
see it so that I can just get off the sled altogether, and like, and then we can shift this together. Like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then they do. And sometimes they do it in hilarious ways where I'm like, yeah, you fucking that nice. Good job. Yeah. Like, I needed that actually to laugh at
Yeah.
myself in this moment. And I love that. There's all these different ways to doing it, but the more you can remind yourself. So like the shirt is also great. You see the shirt and you're like, yeah, I'm doing Thought Ninja. Like, yeah.
It's my background on my phone, and I made the shirt for me as a reminder, as an image for the background of my phone, and then I just happened to put it out as a shirt. That's kind of the whole thing with the show, and I'm sure that you can empathize with this as well. It's like you do it for you.
Yeah.
You just happen to record it and put it out for other folks to enjoy
Yeah.
as well. And so when it got to the Thought Ninja, it became something. Somebody asked me something. I forget even how it got brought up, but it was something I was just doing on my own. I didn't talk about it for months, and then all of a sudden it was really well developed. And when it was really kicking, I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's him, right? I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Anyway. Yeah, and it reads Thought Ninja in Japanese right there. And yes, I did translate that.
That's so cool.
Okay, so it was just one of these things to where it really, really worked. Like really worked, and it worked for a lot of people. And so I was like, well, I knew I was onto something because it worked for me, and that's why I even talked about it, was because it was so powerful, and somebody was experiencing something similar. So I just suggested it as an option. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Like, hey, well, I've been messing with this thing. I'm not really ready to talk about yet, but here it is. It's not fully developed, but here's what I'm doing.
Life was like,
we at the
haha,
same
you
pace
are
with-
ready.
Yeah,
Actually.
and so here it is, and I've been talking about it. Ninja and I hang out. He's great. He's multiplied. There's a few. There's kind of like a little squadron now, like some little Ronins, and they can do their thing. They can come and go as they want. But there's a vibrational understanding up there that's what thoughts are allowed and what thoughts aren't. There's no judgment behind it, and it's been an awesome thing, and it's helped me as well with things that would normally have triggered me, like I said, with some interactions with human beings. It's not the same because I have a different energy with it, because I have a different energy with myself. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not going to judge yourself for thoughts as receivers, you also will look around at people in your physical manifestation and do the same. You can anthropomorphize that through a mature lens, and you can say, okay, well, this also applies to them as well. And then you just don't get upset with the people that cut you off. You just wish them consciousness. You're just like, all right, you'll figure it out eventually. It's okay.
Yeah, it gets easier and easier, honestly.
Yeah.
I love one of the many amazing badass rogue warriors we have in the chat. Dakota says, here's a theory on the afterlife that you manifest what you get. And I want to be on an endless walk with my dogs and my sweetheart on a beautiful day. What's your idea about the afterlife and manifesting that?
First of all, thank you for the comment, and thank you everybody. I'm not seeing the comments because I'm on the thing, but yes, I think afterlife is really interesting because the whole term afterlife, and this isn't going to get super meta, but the whole term afterlife kind of entails that we're not living now and that there's a life after this. You know what I mean? And I kind of connect that to something Daryl Anka said, who channels Bashar. It's one of my favorite quotes ever. And it is that you never leave heaven, but you dream that you do. And so if you think about that then and kind of apply it to this, after this, the answer is, I don't know. If I could pick, let's say if I could be choosy and say that I have thought about this, then I would say that you get to live this life to learn how to create your next world, and that we're gods in training. So you're basically here to come alive, to wake up, to figure out that this place is dualistic in nature, and that your job is to navigate it through the middle path, which that's why I love the name of your show.
Thank you.
And so after this, maybe you just take these lessons and you say, okay, well, in my next life, like there's not going to be any cancer, like no fleas, no cruelty, no horrible shit, no things I didn't like in this one. And you just kind of create as you go here, but through each creation that then you live, like a painting that you're inside of, like Mary Poppins, like you painted and created as you go. Then once you're done with that painting or this life, then you use that as a template for the next one. And so they just keep building, and you keep adding and subtracting and experiencing and creating. And maybe that's how it occurs. At another level, I think that perhaps this is all just some sort of game, like very controlled, like very like an escape, like a vacation, like a Westworld type of a thing, to where like it's just a play. Like you hop in here, you hop in these vehicles, you play this fucking part. It's been scripted. Like 30 people have put this suit on, or 30,000 or 30 bajillion.
Like I've played Brandon and you've played Lindsay, and now we're switched and we're like, haha, isn't this funny?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And this is what, maybe, and it feels more like that. And again, I don't just go, maybe it's this. I look at this world through a lot of lenses. I do a lot of research on a wide variety of things. And whenever somebody asks something about the afterlife, one of the filters that pops up is this near-death experience story. And I've heard 2 or 3 like it, almost identical, that said that whenever they died, they left their body and they turned around. They were floating above their body and they turned around to look at their body. And the way they felt about it was as if it was just clothes that they took off that they wore for the day and then just threw them on the ground, and it was no big deal. So it was this detachment emotionally from this physical place and this physical vessel. That was an interesting thing to me, and several people have talked about it like that. Several people have said they didn't want to come back. So honestly, maybe this is a prison. Maybe this is a hell. Maybe we're playing out a sentence for something we did in the other realm that kind of sucked, and we get to come down here and experience what cancer and fleas and lizard turds are like. You know what I mean? And shit that kind of sucks sometimes, even though there's a lot of dope shit here too. Because they're not evil. It's a minimum security prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of you're not really bound here, but there's an ice wall and there's other dope shit, and you're not going to get access to it. Maybe it's something like that. But I would say that the afterlife is, I don't know. I mean, because then I honestly, I don't have like this is what it is thing, with anything, to be honest with you. But I mean, the more scary option for me is that this is actually the relief. This is actually a place where you want to go, sort of like a Ready Player One on the other side, because it's so shitty, because it's so apocalyptic and horrible, and that this is an escape. Now, I'm not a fan of that line of thinking, but it is on the table as far as possibility goes in my mind. You know what I mean? But if we had to say my favorite, I'd say that we're just either plugged in here for a little bit. It's a game. It's your favorite one. That's another thing to this too. If you could think about like shitty things that you have in your life, I had a guest on the show. It's an amazing young woman named Heather Thomas, and she had a saying that just really stuck with me. You'll have these guests every now and then just say something. You're just like, holy shit, like you and the Wizard staff, you and a lot of things actually, but that one just, I was thinking about it the other day. And what she said was that if you think about it, time doesn't exist. You're everything all at once, everywhere. But for some reason, you keep waking up in this body. You keep living this dream, right? You keep living this life. So if you really think about it, you could, like Jay-Z's thing, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me tonight. You could be anywhere in the universe, being any being in any conscious state, but you're here right now in this one. What that would tell you then, if you've lived this all a bajillion infinite times, is this is your favorite one. And that's why you're in this one, is because it's your favorite. Now, if you really think about that, like how fucking magical is that statement right there? That no matter what's going on, you haven't met everyone you're going to meet. You haven't lived all your best days yet, This is just your story. This is your prelude, really. Things are just getting going right now. Is why you're in this incarnation. It is worth everything that you went through as this huge high being, because you're consciously here now, because this is when the story gets fucking great.
Yeah.
But you had to have that backstory like a shitty Disney movie to go through to get to the really fucking good part. And that's where we are now. This is kind of how I like to see it as well, is that if it is all there, it's infinite, it's always happened, you need to forget because you'd get bored knowing that it all happened already. If that's the case, and we can glimpse it a little bit and then even just talk about it a little bit, then this is your favorite fucking one. That has to be the only conclusion to come to, because you could be any of it all at any time.
Even when I was still stuck way further in the fear, when I was like, God, how old was I? Like 18 when The Matrix came out or something. And we went to the theater and saw it, and we weren't even high for like the first time in our lives. And we came out, we were like, are we fucking tripping balls? Like, what is this universe? And we were like freaking out. And I was like, is China going to come explode us? Because I was really obsessed with China and like the market collapsing. Because I was like, these are the things that I was like, why is no one looking at China and no one's fucking talking about how credit is crazy and the whole world's going to collapse because none of this is all fucking imagination. What are the adults doing? The environment is screwed. Like, yeah, at 18. So way back then, even I was still like, every once in a while I'd just be like, I mean, this is the coolest show you could watch though. Like, how fucked up is this? Like, this is crazy. And now it's even better.
Danger.
Yeah.
And do you feel that? Like, no real danger? Used to, when I was really into the conspiracy stuff, I would feel like it could just happen at any moment, and that those plastic things that Alex Jones found are fucking coffins and they're going to kill us. And then I thought about it. I was like, how dumb would it be if they're just like stacking people to bury them? Like, it's super inefficient. You know what I mean? They would just incinerate. I mean, it's so inefficient. But for a minute there, that you were in one of those motherfuckers, and and you were going to go down fighting, right?
Kill us all.
Cold,
Yeah.
dirty hands. But
for
it's not that dire. I really, it's taken the sting out of it when I really stopped and looked around and turned the goddamn TV off years and years ago, thank God. And I just don't see it as that scary. I see it as the hype without, it's just a realm of blue balls. It doesn't really happen. It just gets you hyped up and you think it's going to release, and then it doesn't. It's just like, we're just kidding. I mean, think of it in conspiracy theories. Oh, this is going to happen. And anytime somebody says, oh, a date, I'm like, get fucked. It's not going to happen. It's just not. And it never fucking
Especially
does.
Once you pick the date, then the universe is like, all right, something else.
Yeah, it's like an edging kink with the universe. You know what I mean? It's all it is. It's a big edging kink. Just to see how how much energy you'll invest into it and how worked up you'll get over the possibility of this being a reality and therefore the release, right?
Yeah. I also just can't imagine me like dying and going anywhere, whatever the thing after this is, and then just staying there forever, no matter how good it is. I'd be there, I'd be like, this is awesome. Like, thank God I finally made it. Oh, it's so relaxing, like whatever, and clearing and healing and whatever, and the highest level. And wow, look at what everything actually was. In the end, it turned out to be like that. Isn't that funny? And then like 3 minutes later, I'd be like, this is fucking boring. Can I go back again? Like, I'll have another round. Like, I don't even care about life. Just give me one for sure. That would not last.
Yeah, I think it's like that.
Can't do it.
That's what that duality is too. It's this hyper experienced reality and no experience of reality and pure omnipotence at once. That's the yin yang as well. Experience and then just knowledge. And so even that, you can't have one without the other, but also you can't be in one state with full awareness of the other, because you're not in learning mode if you already know everything about it. You know what I mean? And then you don't need to learn it if you already know everything about it. So it's just an interesting kind of just relationship we play with experience versus what we can interpret as experience from our current understanding. And I think it's beautiful. Like, I really do. I see this as not as, like I said, fucked up. I think that parts of us, if you want to look at it as individuated pieces of consciousness, just experiencing itself subjectively, all that good stuff, then it needs to learn in a certain way. And I know when I was younger, like all through my 20s, it was like, man, you're going to learn things in the shittiest way possible because that's how I learned, and, every now and then I've definitely learned not to learn that way anymore. And, I've stopped manifesting so many lessons in that way. And now I'm manifesting actual things. But it's been an interesting journey to kind of sit there and say, okay, so all those people out there in the third dimension still want that to go on. Well, maybe no, maybe it's because we're all where we are now cognitively, like where we are. I'd say we're definitely fifth dimension folks, where we see it, but we're not like freaked out by it. It's where it consumes us and gets so much of our energy to where, like I said, we forget to watch a butterfly that flies by, and it's super cool. And, if you look at it like this, then, maybe this story, this narrative, all this nonsense out there needs to be in the background to populate an area so it feels like that something's going on here, or again, we would get too bored. And this may be like the role of this 80% or these NPCs, when we bring that into the conversation. Then it's just a really interesting way to kind of look at this place as experientially. And I don't know. Like I said, I have fun as fuck with the ideas, though. It
I
could be
know.
any of it, and I'm totally cool with it.
I love playing with the ideas. Hey, again, Dakota in the chat says my thought ninja is already destroying shit. Fuck yeah.
Come on,
Woo!
dude. Tell Dakota hi and thank you so much. That is amazing. Special shout out.
Yeah,
That's
Dakota's pretty rad. So what is Rob Zombie's missed opportunity in life?
So I've been saying this forever. Like, I can't wait to meet, like, okay, a joke I have is that this podcast is only blowing up and getting so big, and I'm making it, I want to get it to that level to where I can meet Rob Zombie and finally ask him a question I've been wanting to ask him for like fucking 10 years now. And it is that why he won't start a chain of Chinese restaurants and call it more Hunan than Hunan.
Has
You know
to
what I'm saying?
happen.
It's perfect. And I think he totally should do this. And so,
Yes.
Rob Zombie, if you're listening to this, call me. It's
Yes.
all you. I want you to just do it, but make it really good. Don't make it shit food.
Yeah, like actually really
Yeah.
healthy. And Brandon gets like free food for life for coming up with the idea.
Yeah, we'll work something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyone out there, if you know Rob Zombie, hook it up.
Yes.
Bring it in. Bring it in.
Tell him I want to get him on the show. I want to talk to him about his art. No, we're not going to talk about his music at all. Just his that one show that he did on MTV where he painted the whole time in the background. That's the only thing I want the show to be about.
That's
and
so
then
cool.
also to ask him that one question, and that's it.
Yes. I feel like a lot of people like who have a lot of attention on them and have fame and notoriety of some kind, like they don't actually get it for what they necessarily wanted it to be for, right? Like he probably loves his painting, but like he got attention for this other thing and he's just like rolled with it, and it's like, well, that's not even actually like what I'm doing here, but nobody fucking knows.
I have an awesome example of this. So you follow me on TikTok, right? I had a TikTok video blow up that I made from my construction job that I have 3 days a week. I just do it 3 days a week to get out of the house, keep in shape, a little extra cash. And I made a silly fucking video that I knew would go fucking viral. And it's like a 20-second video, a 12-second video, something like that. It's on TikTok. And I put it up 9 o'clock at night, woke up the next morning, and I put like clips out for the show constantly, hundreds and hundreds of clips, all kinds of stuff for the show. These incredible guests had fucking, Peter Gorman on and Tommy Chong and like Dr. Doug Matsky and Dr. Irvin Laszlo, Neil Donald Walsh, like all these crazy fucking guests.
You had Neil Donald Walsh on?
I know, right?
What?
Yeah, like 20-something episodes in. Oh,
damn.
Girl, he's the reason I started into spirituality.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That was one of my earliest too.
Oh, I'll get you Donna's email. You'll get him on. Anyway, so yeah, and then I throw this construction video out of a 20-second little shitty, silly clip that I knew would go fucking crazy. And it got crazy. It's up to 17.8 million plays right now. 17.8 or 6, yeah.
Million.
Over a construction video.
Okay,
yeah.
and here's the thing. I already know what I think the answer is. Did this gain you any traction in your show? Did you see your numbers go up? Any like hits on the site or anything like that?
Yeah. There's been a real steady increase. That didn't pop like pop, but there's been an awesome, it's been a steady increase, so much so that I don't think a viral video would have really impacted it. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say the videos don't, because I think people think like, I'll just get one viral and then it'll be like the thing, and it's like, no, you can go find all the viral videos in the world, and those people have no other attention. Like
Yeah,
nobody
it's kinda
nobody
like
goes looking beyond the viral video.
no, it's like using your degree after college. Like my brother's
Yeah.
a physics major and he sells software. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't do what they went to college for. Same thing. You'll get a viral video blow up and it did fuck all for the show. Yeah, to be
Yep.
honest with you. Yeah, but I got a video that's had 17.8 million plays on it.
That's
My channel
crazy.
got like I got a lot more followers, which is really
Yes.
cool. You know,
That
so
is
that
cool.
was nice. Yeah.
They have more likelihood to come across some really cool ideas now, so that's awesome.
How I'm looking at it. It attracted more aligned audience that's now going to be sideswiped by a bunch of really dope shit as well. That's what I
Yes.
call, you know, that's kind of the slogan for the show anyway. It's the expansion of consciousness cleverly designed as a podcast, you know.
I love that. Yes. You got to sneak the fire into the places where the fire is not. That is the whole point.
Right.
I love it. Well, this has been a blast. Obviously, we'll have to do it again many times. And tell people again where to find you, what you do, whatever you want to tell them about what you've got going on.
Yeah, thank you so much again. This has been incredible. You're just amazing. This is just so much fun. So yes, you guys can all find me at expandingrealitypodcast.com. That's where everything goes through. So all the links, socials, everything goes out to there. You can't throw a rock and hit the show. We go out to over 50 different listener apps, listener platforms, and like Rockfin, YouTube, Odyssey, all that good stuff. But all of it, you can find through the website there. And we have an expansive insider program going with a bunch of bonus content, a bunch of cool shit going on. So go check it out. And we have the new t-shirts. Definitely check the Thought Ninja one, Dakota, if you like that and that one's interesting to you. But also there's a Lizard Turds one that's a lot of fun too. So there you go.
I love it.
Yeah.
And it's right below you wherever you're watching or listening, so you can just click over and find more of Brandon's stuff. And what are your final thoughts or messages that you want to leave people with tonight?
Keep your eyes open. You know, I always close my show with something like, go out into this amazing place, whatever the hell this thing is, and pick up a piece of litter. You know, be nice to everybody that you come across. Buy somebody in line around you a coffee or a meal, something like that. Something small, but it makes a huge ripple effect in the collective. And, if you really want to up the vibe, get the fuck out of the left-hand lane if you've got somebody behind you wanting to pass.
Yes.
And then above all and anything else, go out into this beautiful place, whatever the hell this thing is, and y'all just be good to one another. That's it. Just be good to one another.
Love it. Fantastic sage advice. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. And this has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom according to the reality expansionist, Brandon Thomas. Brandon, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight.
Outstanding. You're great. Thank you.
Well, in a time of great churning movement and immense import, we look far and feel big. We expect huge shifts, and we begin to cast our minds and hearts about for where to hold, which step to take, how to manage the best possible outcome, and for clues to what the fuck is even actually going on. And the truth is, none of our machinations are necessary. The infinite possibilities of this giant wheel within wheels of time, space, reality is just not so concerned with our scrambling. Instead of flailing, let's make a point of balance and stillness within all the reeling and see that whatever we need comes easily to us, no force necessary. Let the good times roll, and until that wheel rolls right along with you, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Houston to Eagle. Eagle come in. Houston, Eagle. Eagle come in. Eagle, we seem to be having a problem.
Yo, sugar-coated honey smacks, candy-painted Cadillacs, pulling out my battle axe, attacking, hacking up your back. Who's the sickest fiend on the mic you've ever seen? Spitting lyrics, spirit, I'm keeping competition green with the envy. It don't matter what they send me, I'ma spit a fucking verse that ain't competition friendly. I'm deadly, poison, filling up your bloodstream. There's really nothing better than hearing all these thugs scream. Helter skelter, better hit the shelter. Get down on your knees and thank God that you felt the bass washing over like a deep space Nova.
Yeah. Nanotechnicolor, son of a hominoid, mega infused, cardiovascular prime with diesel full throttle, mic abuse, the weapon of choice, amp the depth in my voice, way who's up to my noise, they never seen such nice poise, it's like he merged with the mother box, change up these nutters knots, mother of the motherfuckers blocks with my SIBA block, it don't stop, cause I ain't riding the thinker, I'm in it for the pleasure of the hook, line, and sinker, Dr. Manhattan Project, obliterate the physical, fucking with atoms and chemicals, teetering on mystical, break the fucking sick and roll, ensuring that the spit ain't dough, flood the stream with minerals, change the flow of water, don't mind his mind, he must be off the blotter, outside the cube of Saturn, the situation just got hotter, the situation just got hotter, the situation just got hotter.